You're listening to ND Works, a podcast for the Notre Dame campus community produced by the Office of Internal Communications. We're the team that brings you ND Works Weekly, ND Works Quarterly, The Week at ND, and a passion for sharing clear, concise, and interesting information with the faculty and staff of the University of Notre Dame. I'm Jenna Liberto, Director of Internal Communications, and I'm glad you're listening. Notre Dame faculty and staff are a critical component to the impact the United Way is able to have in our community. In fact, get this statistic, 15% of all United Way campaign dollars raised in St. Joseph County come from you, our university colleagues. And they come through the employee campaign, which begins this year, October 9th, and runs through December 1st. Here to talk more about both the campaign and the impact you can have on the community if you take part are Gwen O'Brien, Director of Community Relations for the University, and Lauren Smith, Vice President of Mission Advancement for the United Way of St. Joseph County. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so glad to have you here. So excited to have this conversation because I understand the impact that United Way has on our communities. I also am inspired by the impact Notre Dame colleagues can have on our community, and that's what we're here to talk about. So I wanted to start with you, Gwen, so our listeners know a little bit about you and about your role with the university.
Thank you so much, Jenna. It's great to be here. So as my title suggests, Director of Community Relations, I'm out in the community building and developing relationships, often with nonprofits, looking for ways the university can partner with people to make an even stronger South Bend and St. Joseph County. As university leadership has said, attracting the best faculty and staff to Notre Dame means attracting them to the region too. So how can we make the community even better for our families? Certainly, we've seen vibrant economic development in South Bend, and Notre Dame has been a big part of that. What's nice is the United Way campaign is a way that we, as individual faculty and staff members, can also make a difference.
Lauren, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your role with the United Way. I know you're very passionate about the work you do. Just tell us about you.
I am. Thank you. So I am the VP of Mission Advancement. And so basically what that entails is being an advocate on behalf of the work that we're doing at United Way out in the community, trying, again, to kind of pull people in and get them engaged in the work that we're doing, helping to support the mission, getting people mission aligned with us, finding new partners, finding new advocates, and really spreading the word. It is a lot to do with fundraising. We really need to get, obviously, those dollars in order to create the impact that we're working on. And so that is definitely a focus of my work specifically, but marketing and communications all kind of falls into that bucket.
This is not the first time you and Gwen have met. We'll put it that way.
It is not. Gwen and I speak frequently these days.
Yes. Won't be the last
We're
time
besties.
either.
That's right. We're just going to move it. We're just going to find a place and just hunker down, get everything nailed down for the year.
Exactly.
Every campaign moving forward. Right?
Let's talk about the why behind this campaign, okay? So behind the Notre Dame United Way campaign specifically, and we'll start with you, Gwen.
Sure.
As I kind of mentioned, as you mentioned, we don't take lightly the gravity of asking people to give, just as an organization. But we also certainly don't take lightly the enormous opportunity we have to give and invest in our community.
Thanks for using that word opportunity, because I think that's really what it is. And the university rarely presents faculty and staff with fundraising opportunities. In fact, there's only 2 times a year, you may not have noticed, but only 2 times a year that you'll receive a message from the university asking you to consider using or investing your hard-earned money toward causes. And those 2 days would be Notre Dame Day and then the United Way campaign itself. What makes United Way float to the top? Well, its mission aligns so well with the university's Catholic identity. We are all called to participate in society and seek the common good and well-being of all, especially the poor and the vulnerable. That's part of Catholic social teaching. The United Way campaign is an effective way to do so. The United Way infuses your individual gift into high-performing local nonprofits, funding programs that help people move out of poverty.
And the other why behind that, Lauren, I know is that I may, in my busy life, not always have the time or the right resources to be an expert at where my dollars could go furthest, where they could have an impact that is most aligned with my personal beliefs and where I want those dollars to go. United Way, I know, takes some of that guesswork as a giver out of it, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that is part of the beauty of this model. United Way gets to be this convener of resources and expertise, and then funnels them where they are needed most in the community. So we've identified these highest needs that kind of float to the top when we think about kind of the economic instability that some people are facing in majority of communities across the country. But here specifically in St. Joe County, we know that we really need to focus in on education, health outcomes. We want economic mobility, and safety net services are critical. So making sure that we have all of these buckets filled, that we have this ability to kind of see the overall landscape of the community. We know where resources are thick and we know where they are thin. We know who has the capacity to serve in these areas and who has the ability to take on additional funding to meet the need that is lined up every day, and who might be maxed out, so we need to shuffle some resources around. And the beauty of United Way is we are one spot to kind of bring those resources together. If you don't have access directly to going through all of these nonprofits, there are lots of things that are needed in our community, and we get to be an essential resource to put them exactly where they're needed. So you don't have to be everywhere all at once, and your dollars can still do just as much good. And the nonprofit community, they really lean into each other a lot. And so this really helps us in this network to build something that is efficient, that is helpful, and really diving into those big, deep needs and getting to the root of the problems, while not forgetting that we have to meet immediate and emergent needs at the same time. We have to supply people with food and shelter. We have to make sure that they are safe. And at the same time, we need to supply a path to stability for the future. And that is not an easy lift. No one agency can do it alone. And so that's where United Way gets to come in and kind of bridge that gap between those partners.
And that's a moving target too, right? I mean, what needs look like this year may evolve next year and certainly into the future. And you're tracking that as an organization.
Absolutely. So we get to see kind of the outcomes from year to year. The things that we fund, we get reporting back on the back end to see what those numbers look like and how they're moving over time. And we have such incredible relationships with our agency partners that we get direct feedback all the time on the increase in needs, or where things might be shifting from, utility assistance into food. Like right now, the cry for help is coming from food access so often. And the partners that we support in the food pantries and things like that, the lines are longer and the resources are thinner. And so we know that right now, that is not something we can turn an eye to. We have to funnel resources toward that food initiative to make sure that people's basic needs are being met.
Lauren, can you help us give us a sense for the people whose lives are impacted by United Way organization? I also know, or believe this to be true, that we probably have all either been in that situation, or we can at least imagine what it would be like to be one emergency away from a different financial or economic situation.
Jenna, you nailed it. So we work a lot with what we call the ALICE population.
Okay.
And ALICE is an acronym. It stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, and Employed. So that is people who are working 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs and still not making check-to-check ends meet. And so we know that that population is very vulnerable, specifically because they're above poverty guidelines. So they don't qualify for federal assistance, but they do not have enough, certainly to have a savings account or things to save for a rainy day, but that flat tire on the way to work or unexpected medical expense can really send them into an absolute tailspin financially. And the implications of that, something so small, can have such long-term implications. We have to have these safety net services available for people. And so right now we know there's a study, the ALICE population, there's a specific ALICE study that is published every 2 years, and Notre Dame has actually helped us with some of the research for that in the past. The most recent ALICE study said that 41% of residents in St. Joseph County live in the ALICE to poverty level threshold. So people are not thriving financially. 41% of our households. So we know that is a huge part of our population that needs extra support. The funds that we push out into the community, so the grants that we give to our agency partners, many of those organizations are serving 200% plus of poverty level. And sometimes it is just emergent needs change, and your tax filings from last year have no bearing on
Sure.
your financial picture today. And so services are very rarely denied. And we know that the majority of people who are lining up are often working class people who are just not making those ends meet between checks. And it is who hasn't been there. I mean, I look at my career path and all the steps that got me to where I am today and think of all the times when money was so incredibly tight
Yeah.
that one thing could have absolutely thrown me off. So many families are living in that state right now. And that is a huge focus of us for United Way, both here locally and when you think about it on a national level. It is just the idea of making sure that communities are strong and thriving, that they have access to the resources that they need when those rainy days do come.
Gwen, we want to make sure our local family here at Notre Dame
Yes.
has that same opportunity. Can you tell us about the Compassion Fund?
Yes, absolutely. Well, this really has to do with safety net services, right? So 5% of all campaign dollars raised at Notre Dame stays at Notre Dame, deposited into the Compassion Fund. The Compassion Fund is for Notre Dame faculty and staff who may experience something like a fire in their apartment, which was a story we heard about a couple of years ago, a real story that a staff member faced. And they can apply for Compassion Fund dollars, and they have to meet certain criteria. And if you're interested in seeing what that criteria is or how to apply, if you are in fact facing a hardship right now, you can go to unitedway.nd.edu and get some more information. So yes, again, 5% of all campaign dollars at Notre Dame that are raised will stay at Notre Dame to help our colleagues.
That's exciting. All right, let's talk about how we get engaged. What can we expect, Gwen, with this year's United Way campaign? We mentioned it gets underway soon, beginning of October. So what should our colleagues expect and how can they get involved?
Well, the campaign's starting this week and it will run through December 1st. And so that's actually for 6 weeks. So again, from October 9th through Friday, December 1st. And this week you should receive a letter in your home, which you may have already received, in fact, from Father John. And he's going to be talking to you about the United Way campaign. And there'll be an insert in there as well where you can fill out if you're interested in giving a one-time gift, or maybe you're interested in having a monthly dollar amount taken out. You actually have a form there that you can fill out if you're interested in sending it in through the mail. It's postage paid. And there's also QR codes there. If you want to learn a little more information on our website, it'll take you right there. Or if you want to make your donation through the online resource there through the QR code, go right ahead. You can choose also from, there's lots of different giving options that you can choose some of those categories you were talking about, in fact, Lauren. And there are incentives. Again, this year we're going to do the raffle again to start or increase your gift. We are incentivizing people with things like a round of golf at Warren Golf Course, including green fees and golf carts, I'm told. So that's pretty awesome. And then 4 tickets to a women's basketball game, or 4 tickets to a men's basketball game, or merchandise from the Notre Dame bookstore. There's all sorts of things.
That sounds exciting. Lauren, anything we missed in our conversation when it comes to giving? I just want to reiterate what the enormous impact potential our colleagues have.
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple things. So on top of the incentives that the campus is offering, that Notre Dame is offering to employees, there are also matching incentives that come down from the Indiana Association of United Ways. We have access to a grant from the Lilly Endowment every year that really incentivizes new and increased gifts. So this is one of those matching opportunities that I feel like sometimes is an absolute unicorn. It is very rare and they're hard to find, where it brings new funds into our community from outside of St. Joseph County. And so access to this kind of matching grant, it truly is matching in the sense that anybody who increases their current gift by, I believe, $10 per month, or anybody who gives for the first time at that level or higher, anything beyond that gift or that amount is matched by outside funds from Lilly. So if you increase by $100 this year and it's $10 per month, or depending on your pay periods, I know there are quite a few different options here on campus, those matching dollars are increased. And if it is your first time giving at that level, every dollar that you pledge is matched. And so that's an incredible resource for us to bring new money into our community to, again, just compound what we can throw at some of these really intensive needs. And it really is. You talked earlier about that idea that Notre Dame has pulled together 15% of our overall fundraising for the last few years, and sometimes it's been higher. That is an incredible partnership, and we can't do this kind of work without this kind of connection. And while we want to remain a partner in the community who is efficient and effective, we want you to know how important it is beyond that. It is more than efficient. It is impactful. People's lives are changed. People are being fed. They are getting access to critical life resources here. And it's an incredible privilege to be able to speak to that. And it's an incredible privilege to have these kinds of relationships. I have the really privileged position of sitting between both the agency partners who get to do this work, and they are the boots on the ground, and they are incredible, and the donors who make it possible. And what an incredible thing to see both sides of this community really pulling together, just wanting to see everyone thriving. They want people to succeed. And this is a really easy way to plug in and know that you are having a really incredible impact.
And when it comes right from your paycheck, or it can just be rolled into your payroll if that's what you choose, right?
Yes.
It can be as easy as you want.
It can be as easy as you want. You can even check a box that says, I want this to just stay the same every year from here on out. But they will always, United Way always comes back and asks you.
Sure.
They don't just assume that in that case that they'll take it every
Right.
year. They will come back and ask,
Yep.
just, are you sure?
Yes.
Just encouraging everyone listening to
Yeah.
explore those options,
Exactly.
explore how you can make an impact in our community. And to that point, you will be seeing more information about the United Way in your inbox, and also through ND Works Weekly. We're going to
Yes.
feature some of the people giving, the impact. You can always go to unitedway.nd.edu. Great video there. Just more great
With
explanation.
Lauren.
Yes, featuring Lauren, of course.
A lot of Lauren this year, right?
The year of Lauren.
It is.
But if this touched your heart, go there and check out more ways that you're able to make a positive impact in the community.
There's
Gwen and
always
Lauren,
volunteering too. So
That's a great
another
point.
thing.
Okay, that's another podcast.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the work that you're both doing in the
Thank
community.
you.
Outstanding. And before we leave you, make sure to be on the lookout for our newest edition of ND Works Quarterly. That's our print publication, created just for you, faculty and staff of the University of Notre Dame. This is an issue unlike any other we've done. It's entirely about the regilding of the Golden Dome this past summer, and there's a little surprise inside that's just for you. We hope you'll love it. We'll be back next month with more news and stories by and for Notre Dame employees. I'm Jenna Liberto. Thanks for listening to ND Works.